Hello, and welcome to PED2, the teaching profession. This is your first professional subject in education, and it introduces you to the world of teaching, its rigors, and its delight. I am Miss Crystal Ann P. Pal, your instructional coach for this subject. We start with Unit 1, Introduction to the Teaching Sphere, and under this would be three lessons. We start with Lesson 1, Nature of Teaching and Teaching Roles. Previously, you were asked to identify your core convictions about teaching and learning. At the same time, you were also asked to identify your goals as a teacher. Your answers to these two important questions will help you shape who you will be as an educator. Now, for the objectives of this lesson, you will be able to explain the nature of teaching, describe the roles of teachers, and later on, produce a digital concept map of a teacher's requisite skills. Now, again, the two concepts are nature of teaching and the roles of teachers. With that, let's start with the first key concept. What happens or what comes into your mind when you think about the nature of teaching? I will give you a minute to think about that. Again, try to reflect, try to think what comes to your mind if we think about the nature of teaching. I am pretty sure you have been thinking about many things, especially now that we have a very different approach towards teaching. Few more seconds left. Okay, well done. That's a pretty good image or messages or words or ideas that came into your mind about the nature of teaching. So let us proceed. Of course, with the many things that you have thought about, one important concept, I assume, would be that you have thought of teaching as a very, very old profession. Even way back in time, in history, even in the biblical perspective, the role of teaching is very prominent, especially that in our concept of Christianity, it is one of the ministries of Jesus Christ when he is here on earth, or he was here on earth. So it is, of course, we say, perennial. One nature of teaching is its being perennial. What do we mean by perennial? It lasts long. It never ends. It's timeless. Teaching never stops. Even in this pandemic, we had somewhat of a standstill, but as what Briones, our Secretary of Education, said, teaching or learning, education continues, and therefore teaching does not stop, but it continues. Another nature of teaching is that it is dynamic and adaptable. When we say it's dynamic, it is changing. It does not remain as is. Maybe some concepts of teaching remain true, but for example, in our delivery of teaching right now, it has changed from what we believe could not be possible way before. Now it is possible because of technology. So from our traditional beliefs and methods, we now as teachers and you as future educators, you or we will start embracing the 21st century principles and practices so that we remain relevant in our professions. Next, teaching is also transformational. We don't just teach in a very transactional way wherein the other party just receives. Teaching is very active. It is an active process wherein the first person who teaches also learns from the information that the receiver also gives later on. Teaching empowers individuals to be equipped with skills to engage in the world and contribute in it. Teaching and learning happen at the same time. Teaching cannot be teaching itself without learning. And in a very local sense, how do we define teaching? According to the Republic Act 7836 of the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994, teaching refers to the profession primarily concerned with classroom instruction at the elementary, secondary levels in accordance with the curriculum prescribed by the Department of Education, Culture and Sports, whether on part-time or full-time basis in the private or public schools. With that, teaching also deals with instruction. There is no teaching if there is no instruction. And now, it does not only talk about classroom, the physical setting of a classroom, even in our sphere nowadays, in our platform, in the online platform, we are still giving instructions and students can clarify, not just accept it as it is, but can clarify instructions. That is the nature of teaching. And so, if we're going to sum up this nature of teaching, we have teaching as perennial, dynamic and adaptable, transformational, it transforms lives of students and make it better, and instructional in a sense because there will be instructions given, there will be processes to be provided and to be followed. These are parts or factors in the nature of teaching. Let us proceed to the second concept, roles of teachers. When we think about the roles of teachers, what words come to your mind? Okay, maybe you have thought about all those images or all of those scenarios that can be related to the pictures that you see now on your screen. Are those images or are these images rather what you observe around your teachers last year, 2 years ago? Okay. In the middle, as you can see, the teacher looks very tired, very exhausted. Of course, in this kind of platform, wherein we don't meet our students, we have so many things to prepare, so many things to do. But don't worry. So you can see that little teacher here. We're always welcome, always happy to serve our students and even our parents. But of course, there will always be different tasks to ensure that you learn and to ensure also that when you learn the quality education that our schools give you. With that, look at this picture again and see the many hats of a teacher. What do you think about this picture? Does this challenge you or does it inspire you? Now, I'll give you another minute to do this activity. Identify a role of a teacher from the given word. There are so many words there, just pick one. Then, describe how these words, or word rather, how that role reflects a teacher in this generation. I'd like you to write down your answers in your worksheets. So think about this. Identify a role of a teacher from the given words and describe how the role reflects a teacher in this generation. Wow, I'm sure you've written much and you've written pretty well. Of course, a teacher knows how to write. And with that, I'll give you a confetti. There you go. Good job. Let's proceed to our discussion on the roles of a teacher. First of all, as a teacher, we are all human. You are human with both feelings, at the same time you have logic. Make sure that when you become a full-fledged teacher, or a tutor maybe, you make sure that there is a balance between feelings and with your logic, with your rational mind, okay? It should not be the other way around, that the feelings will overpower your mind, but there should be a balance. You cannot be all mind because that will make you robots, but you also cannot be all heart because that will make you a fool. So have a balance, logic, and feeling so that you can be able to communicate with your students pretty well. Next role would be the role of a professional. As a professional, you profess your capacity and especially follow regulations. We have code of ethics to follow. We cannot just do what we want to do. We have to follow a system. That is being professional. We don't just say what we want to say, and especially we don't want to hurt or offend or insult other people. We have to be professional in dealing with others physically, face to face, and most especially with dealing with other people in the online setting. Next, the role of a teacher as a community leader. You will be, of course, not an island. You must be able to participate in community building. You cannot detach yourself from your being a social person, from a social being. And therefore, it is expected of all of us, teachers, to contribute to our society, even just a little. We don't have to run as mayors or president of the country. Just do your part wherever you are in your community. Next, you must be a model of character. It is primarily important that a teacher, although you are not perfect, but you should have a sense of higher moral standing. You have the higher moral standing. You're the bigger person, not physically, but a bigger person in your relationships. You have to be the one who understands more, who gives more kindness, who reaches out more, who gives or imposes more discipline, positive discipline at that. You should be a model of character and therefore you exude the proper conduct and the proper attitude and behavior. Model of character. Yes, it can be difficult, but this is a teacher. This is the role. You're not perfect, but you're a model of character. And so you have to be careful. And last but definitely not the least, actually pretty important, you are an expert. You cannot be a teacher if you don't have anything to offer to the school. You don't have anything to offer to your parents and especially to your students. As a teacher, you should be an expert in your field, whether you're in elementary or in high school or in college. You should be able to provide the needed knowledge and skills to exude or to deliver what is expected of you. You should be armed with your expertise, your specialization. If you feel that you are not ready or you don't know a certain task, a certain topic given to you, find a way. Do research, research, study, and of course, later on, you will become an expert. So learning then never stops. For an expert, you're not a know-it-all, but you're an expert, especially when you continue to study and continue to learn. Because as they said, once a teacher, always a learner. And with that, these 5 are the roles of the teacher, primary roles of a teacher, among many other hats or roles that a teacher has to do. With that, your deepening exercise would be to go to the Gale Library in your VLE account and make sure that you click on the link stated here and there. Next, on your worksheets, you have to make sure you provide the essential rules that the teacher is expected to do in his or her duties. So jot it all down based on what you have read. And with that, this assignment is the continuation of the deepening. And the title is The Teacher's Web. The prerequisite of this assessment is that you should be able, or you should have read the article in the deepening exercise. Once you're done, you proceed to your VLE accounts and see the instructions on how to accomplish the teacher's web. Our VLE is the virtual learning environment, the learning management system of our institution. And with that as a summary, the nature of teaching is perennial, dynamic and adaptable, transformational, and instructional. With that, the teachers have numerous roles which are related to being a person, a professional, a community leader, a model of character, and an expert. Our reading resources are also found in your VLE, so don't forget to watch it or to look for it. And so, I leave you with this last or the first lesson before we go to the next. The door is prepared for you to become the best teacher that you can be. The question now is, will you come in? I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.